Welcome, everybody. Again, we have a great evening, afternoon, morning, whatever, wherever we are at the same time. But we really are looking forward today to have another guest meet the harp stars, Şirin Pancaroğlu. I just really hope I will pronounce it right, correctly, and in the first time. So Şirin Pancaroğlu, and she's a great harpist from Turkey. I know that everybody knows her, but for those who are not from the harp world, I would like to introduce her a little bit so that you know who is our guest today, our really great star. We have Şirin. It's by Washington Post. She was meant as a major talent of international caliber. Discovering a variety of musical identities for the harp is a central endeavor. Trained as a classical musician, she, the leading harpist of Turkey, is equally active in the realm of Turkish traditional music, improvisation, new music, electronic music, tango, and semi-stage performances, as she is a mainstream harp repertoire. Şirin Pancaroğlu is credited for her work on unearthing the historical Turco-Ottoman harp called the Schenk. Regularly collaborates with performers and composers of diverse backgrounds, have led Pancaroğlu to cross boundaries between musical styles, often resulting in music that has been perceived as opening to pass to new genders. She is born in Ankara, in Turkish, and she has completed her education in the Geneva Conservatory, and then received a master degree from the Indiana University Jacob School of Music in USA, studying with the distinguished professor Susan McDonald. She released 12 recordings in her home country and abroad, and performed at festivals and concert halls in over 20 countries. Mrs. Pancaroğlu has taught masterclasses international, premiered over 30 new works of the harp, serves on the jury of international harp competitions, and is regularly soloist on the media and the press in Turkey. As of 2017, her main focus has been on pursuing a project entitled the Turkish Harp, which is the culmination of Pancaroğlu's involvement with Turkish music over the last 20 years. She's the co-editor of critical and noted publishing series entitled Turkish Harp Music Collection of Creighton Collection. The series wishes to expand the literature of harp with works based on traditional Turkish music for pedal and lever harp. She is the founding president of the Association of the Art of the Harp in Istanbul, and she has been serving on the board of the World Harp Congress since 2011. Mrs. Pancaroğlu is married to an artist and has a son, age of 13. So it's a little introduction. I'm sorry for my pronunciation of some of the words, and I'm so sorry because I was in a hurry now, but I'm so happy that we can meet today our wonderful, wonderful guest, Şirin from Turkey, and I would like very big and warm welcome for our great guest. Şirin.
Thank you, Jana. How are you?
So happy to see you and really to be with you again after so many years. It has been maybe 7 years we have seen each other in Istanbul for the last time.
Yes. Well, we our paths crossed in Bloomington last summer.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I remember that in Istanbul we have seen for a longer time. We could have a little bit more time together. And today I'm so glad that you made time to be with us and to share not only your stories, but also you prepared for us some music, which is for the interview. Meet the Stars is very unique because it has not happened yet.
Really?
So I'm so happy and so looking forward. But of course, first of all, I would like to ask you, how are you and how is the situation now in Turkey and how is the all life?
Well, it's been as unusual as everywhere else, basically. But not too much has changed for me. Luckily, I think I'm just very lucky. I always work from home. I think for us musicians, maybe except with the traveling, which was a nice thing, not to travel for a while, I have to say. It's not an easy life. Some of us travel more, some less, but still, I think that to be on the go with an instrument, it's been a nice thing to stay at home and just to focus on, playing and writing music and things like that, doing things behind computer. And also, before I say anything more, I want to congratulate you for doing the harp channel, because I think it's such a big service for the harp world, and just this time in our lives and this time in the history of the world, it comes as this feeling of connected community among the harpists, and it's just so wonderful. I feel closer to my colleagues. Because the internet allows that. So it's not only bad. As far as the situation here, it's we still have about 800 to 900 new cases per day. We never had the total lockdown, really. We had lockdowns on the weekends. We had curfews on the weekends, but I think that just to keep the economy going, the factories had been working, and it's lower now. But now that they're trying to open again, I'm worried. It's a lot of we don't know what's going to happen, really. It's like everywhere else. How much to reopen, and how, I really got used to being at home almost all the time. I lived in a house with a garden, and I've been just watering my plants and planting things. I forgot what it is to be outside. Really. I mean, I go for shopping and post office and things like that. I go to the farmers market. But what is it to go to a concert or to cinema, or maybe it's an interesting time. I don't think it's all bad. We have a lot to learn.
Absolutely. Also some positive things from that time as well. That's very true.
Also, because we get to spend a lot of time. We have a son. I have a son who is 13 years old, and so he's doing distance schooling, distance learning, and he has spent a lot of time at home. And he just entered the puberty. He's 13. It's like he's a teen, basically. So it's been nice to spend that time with him at home. Just have more communication.
That's also privilege of this time. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Sharon, please tell us all, how did you start to play the harp? Because Turkey, it's not a place where I would even think about that there can be harp community. And you have now a very large community, and you were actually the first harpist from Turkey I ever met. So I would like to know, how did you start? How did you find out to play the harp, and when, and so on? If you can just explain a little bit.
Yes. Well, actually, I come from a family where there were musical instruments. I mean, my dad played the guitar, and he was an amateur player, self-taught, actually. My mother had a piano in the house from her childhood, which she never really pursued. She wasn't that musical. My father was musical, though. So, if there's an instrument in the house, whether it's a harp or a piano or whatever, kids end up on the instrument. And I remember being very interested in music at a very early age. I would listen to fairy tales. I mean, there were these small, I'm talking about like late 60s. There were these LPs, but the small ones. The very small ones, and there were fairy tales or tales, and there was just wonderful symphonic music in the background. And I remember being like, the first music I remember is Scheherazade, for example, because it's just so open to imagination. So shortly after that, I think I found myself on the piano, and then my dad was teaching me songs. And when I finished elementary school, Dad was really very encouraging for me to pursue musical studies. So he said, why don't you enter the conservatory exams? You have to take an exam to qualify here. So you go through some training, and then so then 3-week oral training, and then you have to have this. It's not necessary that you play an instrument. They just want you to have a good ear, basically. So I came to the final exam. I passed several rounds, and the day that they were going to really basically, you couldn't really say you want to play the harp or the piano. They want to make sure that not everybody ends up on playing the violin. So the more marginal instruments are, it's encouraged. So my to-be teacher, his husband was a old acquaintance of my grandfather. And when they heard that, granddaughter is coming for the exams, they said, oh, well, that would be great if she played the harp. So it was sure that I was going to be accepted. But what instrument? So they said, you play the harp. Basically, they told me to play the harp. And it was a very scary exam. I remember, they would check like if my mouth is suited for like wind instruments. They would check like finger strength and things. I fainted at the end of this exam. I was just so like exhausted and emotional. I think I woke up in another room somewhere. My mother she was fanning me like this, and so then they said, yes, yeah, you're chosen. You're accepted into the conservatory. You'll be playing the harp. And I didn't know much about the harp. I was 11 years old. I knew what it looked like because my father would take us to symphony concerts. So I knew what the sound is like, what it looked like. I even knew the Boieldieu concerto. It was there was an advertisement on TV for a car company. And the background, there was the Boieldieu concerto. I didn't know that was Boieldieu, but I knew it's harp music. So, and then that's how things happened. And my teacher, the first time I saw the harp, it was in her house. And she had this really beautiful, I think it was a horngacher she had. And then she sat me down and she said, that's how you hold your hands, your fingers and everything. And I remember just plucking one string, and I will never forget that sound. Just the vibrations that it came into my body, that was just so impressive. I mean, I felt like it was like drops of rain. It's raining inside me, just plucking 3 notes, with one finger or 2. So I was just like in love, absolutely.
I can imagine.
With the sound, mostly with the sound. I thought the shape is interesting. It's nice, but just the sound itself really, I felt personally very strong about it.
I can imagine. And did you have any chance to practice on the harp, or how was it?
Yeah, so the situation was that, of course, there were very few harps to go around. So there was, 1 or 2 in the symphony orchestras. Maybe there were not more than 20 harps in Turkey altogether, and in the conservatories. So we had a very small harp, a very small pedal harp at the conservatory, which was in very bad shape. And so that's where I started. I would practice at school, basically, every day, a little bit between classes. And I spent 2 years like that. Of course, in the beginning, the fact that I didn't have an instrument at home just really kind of like held me back, because I did have a piano in the house, and I had a piano teacher also at the conservatory, and I was progressing very fast on the piano, faster on the piano than on the harp, because I had time at home and the instrument was there. So the first 2 years I was thinking like, oh, this instrument is really not easy. I'm not progressing as much as I'm progressing on the piano. But years later, I understood that it's not that, it's nothing to do with the harp. It's just because I didn't have a harp at home. And there were no lever harps in Turkey whatsoever. No small harps. So.
Karen, I was going to is it possible when we have tried before, you had the earphones. Do you have the earphones now also?
I do.
I hear myself in echo, and I think that we can avoid this echo by the earphones.
Yes,
thank you.
Better?
It's better. Yeah, indeed, it's better. Thank you so much. Yeah. I just want to ask, because of course there is no level harp. We did not have the level harp in our country either. So it has been. How old have you been at that time when you started to play the harp?
So I was 11, and the pedal harp was the smallest pedal harp you can imagine, with a straight soundboard, and I think maybe not 40, not even 45 strings maybe. So actually, those harps work well, I think, for beginners, if the child is not too small at the conservatory level.
The Russian harps, or which harp was it?
No, it wasn't Russian. We didn't have Russian harps back then in Turkey. We had only, like in orchestras, we had horngahers and line and hillies. It's just amazing. They had the most expensive harps in the orchestras. And that was a salve. That was one of the, like, maybe not a Daphne, but something before Daphne. I don't know if it had maybe a number or something. The previous model. It was an old harp also. It was not new. So, so after 2 years of studying at the conservatory in Istanbul with my teacher Sevin Berk, that's the first person I studied with. She was a very, very, very good performer, I have to say. I think to that day she had been the most respected soloist, harp soloist in Turkey, and rightly so. When I listen back to her, she passed away in 2007. But when I listen back to her recordings, she was mostly self-taught, because the first generation of harpists in Turkey, it was Italian harpists who had come. The governments had some kind of cultural exchange. So the conservatory was established in Ankara, in the capital, and there was no harpists, no Turkish harpists, but the orchestras were there, and they needed harpists. So the Italian government sent, I think, consecutively 2 harpists who played in the symphony orchestra and who also taught at the conservatory. And the first generation studied with them, but they didn't graduate with the teachers. The teachers had left before, so they kind of graduated by themselves without a professor the last year or 2. So she had studied in the Italian school, actually, all throughout, and yeah, she was a fiery performer, very good performer, I have to say. So the first 2 years, yeah, she had a very strong personality, and not so easy for a child, but I was really impressed with her performing schedule. Also, she performed a lot, and her desire, to put the harp on the stage as a solo instrument. She was really the first one.
And she also played in the orchestra, or because if she was the only one, then probably she had to play in the orchestra as well, right?
Yeah, she played in the orchestra in Istanbul, and also that's where her position was, actually, and she was a hourly teacher, part-time teacher at the conservatory. So then this class was very small, because there was only 1 harp, and they were thinking, well, if they take too many students for the harp, then how many jobs are there anyway out, in the orchestra situation? So they would only accept maybe at a given time 3 students. One had to graduate before they would take another one.
I see.
So I studied with her for 2 years, and then my father got a job abroad, and they moved to Indonesia. I mean, that was like a radical change. So my parents and my sister went to Indonesia, and my father said, "Do you want to keep playing the harp?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, if you come to Indonesia, you can't. There's no harp there. There's no harp teacher." And I was 13 years old. And he said that we have to find a solution. And I had an aunt who lived in Switzerland, in Geneva. So they said, if you want to keep playing the harp, you have to go and live with her. So that was like a huge break. It was a difficult thing to kind of...
early age, 13 years old, it's really...
Yeah, it is. It's my son's age now, and I look at him, and I don't know if I could do that to him. Do something else. Don't play the harp. Whatever. I think our parents, and we come from a generation of people have seen really hardship. They have seen wars. They have had friends who died in wars, and they just come from a different era. I think we make it we're more attached, we're more comfortable with our children. We make sometimes life even too easy, I feel.
That's true.
Yeah. And also my father, really, he wished he was a musician. But back then, to become a musician in Turkey for a man, what kind of a living would you make? The status in the society was not that good. So he went through the best schools and became an engineer and went to do a degree in the US. So there was no room for him to become a musician, but he would have wanted, I think. So when it was a possibility for me, he was all behind me. I mean, he was not pushy. No, I wouldn't say that, but like a little push, I make the way easy. He tried to make, he really cared about our education. So
the correct way, actually, the correct
yes.
way.
Yes.
And your sister was also doing the music, or is she doing music as well?
No, she's not. She wasn't musical. Actually, she's a historian. And my dad tried also with her some music, but it didn't work. She was a she was a bookworm, and she read a lot, and she became a professor at the university in Istanbul, studied at Harvard, and worked at Oxford and everything. She's a real sort of intellectual. So. So my father always very proud of the fact that it was a wish for him. He couldn't do it, but I did it, but I was very suited for this job. I never felt like it's because he wanted. Never. I was really interested in music, actually, because at the entrance exams in the conservatory in Istanbul, they said, "Well, so what would you like to play?" I said, "I don't really care." I didn't have an instrument in mind. I just took these exams, and they said, "Well, would you like to play the harp?" And I said, "Well, why not?" I like music. I would sing a lot as a kid and improvise, and so it was just natural. Then later on, I went to Switzerland, and there I started to live with my aunt, and there, of course, I had to pursue, just regular school, and then I went to the conservatory after hours. Then I started studying with Catherine Eisenhofer. She was my teacher, and so I did. How long? So I was there from 1980 to 87.
Wow, 7 years. Yeah. So your parents were 7 years in Indonesia?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Back then, there was not even a direct phone line.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't imagine this. This is amazing. Yeah.
So I would wait for a letter every week. I would write a letter, one to my sister, one to my parents, and then each of them would write me a letter. 3 letters would come in an envelope, and I'd be literally waiting. I knew when the postman comes, so I would looking. I was like living in this mailbox.
I remember I had the same when I was in US, where we met for the first time for the study. So I had the same stories. I was waiting for the little car to come to the mailbox and to bring the mails from the letters from my parents. Exactly. I remember that. Yeah. Oh my God, but from 13 to 20 years old, this is the very important years of the age of the young one. And you were actually by yourself. You were grown up and you get mature already so early. You must have been by yourself.
Yeah, because I lived for 5 years with my aunt, but then my parents decided that my sister also should study in Europe. So they sent her, and she was 15 and I was 18, and we were living in an apartment together for a couple of years.
That's wonderful.
I was not even, not even totally 18 when this happened. We were kids, really, and then I had to, we had to get along, and we had to cook in the house. We had to clean, we had to do dishes, and laundry, do the shopping, cooking, everything, and studying. And I was teaching also, like 1 day a week. My teacher started me to teach very early on. She said you have to have experience for teaching. So she sent me a student. I was 15 years old, Jana, and she sent me this man who was 24 years old. Okay, this young man with a small Celtic harp, the lap kind. And of course, I didn't even know how the levers work and everything, but I was just so embarrassed. I taught this man for a couple of months. I was just like, and you have to touch like position. I put hand finger, and I'm 15. It's like so.
That's funny.
It is, yeah. I was just then luckily he moved to a different city, and I was like, oh, okay, my God, I feel better. So because I couldn't say no to my teacher, she said, you have to do this. You need the experience.
But certainly the young man was very happy to have you as a teacher. Certainly he was
I
enjoying.
have no idea. You're alone in a room, and
Mhm.
it's one thing you're 23 and the boy is 15, but the other way around, it's like.
Of course.
But after that time, she regularly sent me private students, and I was also like filling in for her sometimes. So yeah, I started teaching at 15, like on a really regular basis. So, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, and because it was in Switzerland.
Yes, yeah.
So
Because
there was
in Switzerland. Yeah.
So there were much more, of course, people to play the harp, and there was much more bigger class and more interest in the instrument as well, right?
Yeah, it was a little different, but still small, compared to France, which was like next door to Geneva, where I also started to have lessons. With Pierre Jamet. I went to the Gargiles summer course, and then the year of my graduation, I studied with him like monthly. So when you look at in France, there were just so many harpists and so few in Geneva, actually. So again, it was a feeling of like we were not that many harpists in Turkey and not that many in Switzerland, but I was in good company there in Switzerland. My teacher's assistant, a harpist of Hungarian descent, Notburga Pushkash, she was her assistant, and also she played in the Swiss Romande Orchestra. She was like a big sister to me. She taught me a lot. I mean, she just taught me a great amount of things. I was like with her all the time, not just the weekly lesson with her, but she would just call me and I would go to her house and we would eat. I think she was maybe like 9 years older than me, 8 or 9 years older than me. And then she was also the one who said, you should go and study with Pierre Jamet. And then after 2 years of Pierre Jamet, who then started to have really poor health, then I studied for 1 year on a private basis between Geneva and Paris with Frédéric Ambrelin, another, her. She was a really great, great teacher as well. So then I finished this European part of my studies, and my father said, would you like to stay in Europe, or because I know a place which you might like in the US. And of course, back then there's no internet. You can't really search. You don't know anything unless you meet someone. But I had met Suzanne MacDonald in Gargiles. She was there for the competition. She was a judge. And then already I had this, feeling that I want to maybe study with her based on my father's recommendation for the school in Bloomington, for the music school. And so I approached her, and and I knew she spoke French, so I said, I would like to come and study with you. And then she answered so sweetly. I was just like, I will never forget that. She said, "Oh, my child, mon enfant, venez, come, my child," she said.
Oh, she was always like that, or she is like that, yeah.
So warm. I mean, I was like, she called me my child. It was just like incredible, And of course, I was a child, when you compare her age and all that. So then I applied and sent recordings, and it was a good change to go from Europe to the US. I felt to really be in an environment where we were 20. I think she had like over 20 students in her class.
Yeah. How long have you been there studying in US?
So yes, Jana, actually what happened is that my teacher in Switzerland was very practical mind, Catherine. She made me jump degrees, basically jump classes. So for example, I would present the examination repertoire of not the year I was studying, but of the year after. You could do that. You could jump like. So then I finished. I got my diploma really young. I was 20 when I got my diploma. So like when I graduated, then I thought, well, if I go to Bloomington, I'm just going to extend myself and take time and study with Miss McDonald. So I thought I stayed 4 years.
4 years.
4 years for a master's degree, which is unusual. But because I was ahead, I was quick in the early part, then I could really extend myself, which really fell in good place for me.
That's fantastic. I will show one picture because I was there only for 1 year, but we crossed each other. We were there, so it's really. And I have here the picture of the whole class. The of Miss McDonald. And I just made mark where you are. You are in the white, the left on the right. It's me on in the brown. And of course, so many wonderful students. Liz Heinen is there, Kirsten Agresta, Anne Young, Anne Basson, Ella Schmidt, many people from the one.
Even Miss McDonald's mother is there.
Miss McDonald's mother and Eleanor Fell is there as well. And
yeah,
it's I just found these pictures. It was really lovely.
Very sweet. I think I have that picture as well. Yes, we look so like babies.
We were all really babies, but it's like still for me like yesterday, you know.
Me too.
To be like it has no years passed since that time. It's just like everything seems to be clear, like at that time. Indeed.
Yes, definitely. I think it was a very sort of like a crystal clear period. Also in terms of Miss McDonald's teaching.
Absolutely.
I think she was really in her height. You know, like the optimum energy of the knowledge, the mental energy and physical energy were just in this optimum place. That's what I realized afterwards, because after every lesson I felt like I had some kind of injection, you know, like she come out and it's like so energized. I never felt like even though the lesson maybe not the best lesson, you know, but still you come out every time with this like incredible horizon.
Some kind of indeed. I have also you sent me this picture which I don't have, and it made me really very happy because it must have been also in Bloomington because there is all the students from that club.
This is Dublin. This is from Dublin. This is the World Harp Congress.
Oh my goodness! So we really met like the all students there.
Yes.
Oh,
this is Dublin because this is the year where her house burnt down. I remember that very clearly. And we're all wearing name tags, as you can see. It's the Congress. So again, Ella is there, and Jeren is there. To the right of Miss McDonald.
Of course. And also, I'm already having the blonde hair, and I did not have when I was studying. That's true.
Okay.
And Şirin, tell me, when did you play the first concert? Was it still in Turkey before you moved to Switzerland, or did you play
in Switzerland? The first concerts I played, they were in Switzerland. They were school concerts, just the regular concerts in the conservatoire and also in my high school. But the very first full-fledged recital that I played with public, aside from my graduation recital in Switzerland, that was in Bloomington, my first year in Bloomington.
Really? And did you have your own harp already in Switzerland, or still only use the school instrument?
No, in Switzerland we rented harp. First from my teacher. She had a small style 17 Lionel-Healy, with a small soundboard, not straight, but a small extended 46 strings.
Right.
That's what I had. And then after a while, I think that the David harp makers from Switzerland, they lent me a couple of instruments from my graduation year. And then as soon as we went to the States, actually my father also, my parents, Dan, at the same year that I moved to the States for studying, my father got a job in Washington, D.C.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah. So I had a home in the same country. So then that year, my father, he said, we just need to buy a harp for you. So the first year I studied with school harps in Bloomington. And that summer, my first harp came from Lionel-Healy. And yes. So I don't have that harp anymore. I had it only for 2 years, and then I got another. I changed it, but
I see. That's wonderful. I just only because there are also some messages, so I don't want to miss them too.
Sure.
So glad I have it. I have made it to the event to listen to Sharon, and of course we have also. I'm listening with pleasure. I had a few of Sharon's I have been a few of Sharon's concerts. Listening to her about herself is great. So we have also very wonderful things like here, and this is probably in Turkish.
Yes. Yes, I think I am very productive. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's something nice.
And yeah, so really people are with us, which I am thankful very much. And Sharon, I don't know if you want to play something for us now.
Yes, it's a good time. Yes, let's do that. Shall I take off my headphones? Probably.
Yes, please. Yes. So is it going to be the grand first?
Yes, I'll play the François Couperin little piece, Barricade Mystérieuse.
Wonderful. Bravo, Sharon. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you also decided to play for us, because this is very big honor for us to hear you live right away during this interview, and I appreciate it so much. You have still 2 more pieces to play for us, so we just only want to inform the people so that they should not leave us, and that they should wait for the rest. Sharon, tell me, when you were in US and you were there for 4 years, your parents stayed there longer than you studies, and or how did your life moved on afterwards?
After that, okay. Actually, then I moved to Washington, D.C., where my parents were. And I spent a year just, freelancing in Washington, D.C. I got a lot of experience doing all kinds of things. It was just amazing. I took one audition, and where all the local orchestras, conductors, event planners, all the organizers were there. And then I started to have a very full calendar. They just started calling me for all kinds of job. Okay, so I would like play with maybe in a supermarket opening, and in the same week I would have like a chamber music concert at the Kennedy Center. It was like just doing all sorts of work. I would play at funerals, at events, private parties, and doing a lot of orchestra work as well, doing chamber music. It was this very chaotic mix, actually. And I would also have to, for example, there were local theaters with like musical plays. And sometimes the harpist just, would fall sick, and you have to go and play. You have to sight read, and you have to play this theater music. You have to fill in at the last moment. So those were things I didn't learn in school, just how to become fast, adjusting to music that's in front of you, and what is music like in real life. There is the concert hall, but there is also music outside of that. So I experienced this full range, and it was a little schizophrenic, but it was very good for me at that age.
Experiences also, because you really can see both ways of life, the different and the really concert life as well. That's really important for such
definitely. Yeah, and they do help each other, actually. I mean, I became a faster sight reader, actually, after I had to do these quick jobs. And I also ended up playing some pop concerts, I played with Stevie Wonder, for example.
Fantastic.
Which was like fantastic. Yeah, and he had a personal comment on me even after the concert, and I felt like, oh well, just don't say that it's a simple, maybe not a great engagement. It is great when you get a great comment and from such a figure like that.
Sharon, could you already make improvisation at that time, because you now do improvisation also, right?
Yeah, at that time I didn't. I was mostly, at that time I was really interested in playing different music for harp, like new music, and having some kind of repertoire which was like personal to me. Not everybody maybe was interested. I feel like it's important that every harpist does identify with a certain body of music. In school, no, you have to play what's in the main repertoire. But once you get out, I thought, well, there are some things I didn't feel like I'm very suited to play, but there were other things which I'm very suited. So I thought maybe I'm free now to explore. And I never ever, after I left school, felt the need to study with anybody after Miss McDonald, which is a very interesting thing. I felt like whatever would come my way, or whatever I dream of, I can somehow come there. So like self-sufficiency, this feeling. So then all these things were a lot of fun for me, all this colorful range was very good. I couldn't play but I was working with composers. I was always very close to composers, and some pieces had been written for me, and I was just in the mind of the composer, like showing him, we should write things like that for the harp. This is what sounds good. Don't write it like that. So I was in the process of the kitchen a little bit. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Indeed. And what was the first piece? It was a solo piece for you written, do you remember? Or was it chamber music? Or how was it? Or was it, you, of course, inspired the composer, but at the same time, was it that you maybe asked the composer also to write something, or he came to you that he wants to write something for you?
Yeah, no, it was a composer from Argentina, Gerardo Diria. He was studying in Bloomington. And then we were friends after school as well. So he wrote a piece for me. Yeah, I don't know who it came from. Probably from him. or me, I don't know. But I was also playing in new music ensemble in school, and he knew that I like things like that. So, and then I put that piece on my first recording, because I thought I got now fresh out of school, I should make a recording. It's like having a name tag or something. So I did that year where I work in supermarket and Kennedy Center, where I live at home, I save money. And with that money, I made a recording.
Wonderful. So, and what did you do for your first recording? What was there for the pieces?
Okay, so I thought I should play some pieces that are in the harp repertoire to show that I can play. I just normal harp. So I played like Posse Etude 2 and 7. I played Forêt in Châtelet en Satou. I also played this little piece, which was my finding, actually. I was just going through a lot of Baroque music. So I had found that piece and I played that. It's nice. It's a lot of in the fourth and fifth octave, kind of a little dark, but very playful. So then what's in the recording? Salzedo, I think I put 3 or 2 preludes by Salzedo, because we were studying for Israel, and we had learned 5 preludes. Actually, I like them a lot. I played them a lot afterwards. They work very good in concert setting.
That's true. So, I've shown already this picture. I showed already before with another, but only I just want to be sure to Şirin is the one below. I think that we are sitting next to each other. Like, where is the harp?
Yes.
Me, it's the white, and just in front of me, you are staying in front of me.
Yes. Exactly, to the left, to the right, yes.
Yeah, yes, exactly. On the picture to the right, on my side, or to the left.
Well, and there's Anne Young there also. And
indeed, yeah. Yeah, so just when you
very cute. So basically, the music that I studied, my final years in Bloomington, I recorded, but I recorded some pieces that nobody knew. For example, I searched through, because I knew this Argentinian composer, I searched through some Argentinian music, and I found a little song by Ginastera. And then it works really well as a little harp piece. It's an F minor. So it's not something that was played on the harp ever, but it works perfectly well. And then I played Glinka Nocturne, and what else is there? I just have to check. Let me just see quickly. It's here. So, Albini's, I played Torre Bermeja. And then I was already very interested in music from Latin America. I really loved it. And I found a little piece by Piazzolla, which I played, Tardecita Pampeana. It's a little piano piece, which doesn't sound like Piazzolla. It sounds more like Ginastera. It's like early work. And I played the
I remember that at that time, it has not been so usual. Piazzolla was not so much played yet at that time.
No.
Yeah. Like it's really a composer who everybody knows, but at that time it has not been absolutely played like these days.
Yeah, because he was still alive, actually. He died in 1992. So when I recorded that, he was alive. What was I going to say? Also, I played the Scarlatti F minor sonata, which no harpist had played at that time yet. Then it became a nice piece in the repertoire. This one.
Right.
This one, yeah, because I was going through Scarlatti sonatas in the library in Bloomington, trying to find ones that worked, and Miss McDonald had not done her Scarlatti sonatas yet. So she had the Spanish collection, Spanish pieces, but she didn't have that yet. So that's one thing I put there. It sounded so good for harp. It's just perfect figure.
It's gorgeous, really. On the harp, it sounds so fantastically.
It does, yeah. So I think that might have been the first recording of that, or first performance of that. And then I played Handel Prelude and Toccata, things like that. And then I premiered this piece by Gerardo Diria. So that was the first video.
Sure. Would you mind if we'll go a little bit through the photos which you so kindly send me, so that
Sure.
I just don't want to. I will just start from those which I see that they are really from the youngest age. This is you,
Okay.
as a baby,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's so cute. It's really so nice. And here you are really big girl already.
Yeah, I'm with mom.
Here also,
Yes, that's when we live in Ankara. Yeah.
how wonderful. And you in Turkey, you have been staying in one place, or have you been moving also from one city to another one?
Yeah, by the time I was 5, we had gone through 3 cities already. We moved a lot. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, my father's work just took us to different places.
Mhm.
But the three major cities, big cities in Turkey. So we went from Ankara to Izmir, back to Ankara to Istanbul, and then and then stayed there until we left abroad.
Mhm. And now you are also in Istanbul.
No, I'm not. We moved 3 years ago from Istanbul. I came back to Turkey in 2000. And then after that, I lived in Istanbul until 2017. So for 17 years. But we live outside of Izmir now, which is the third big city in Turkey. It's a small town. And in the very mild climate here, the aging climate. So we're very close to the sea. We're on the sea actually, and olive trees everywhere. It's Mediterranean climate.
But it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Yeah. So
I can imagine.
we probably would not be able to live here and have a career some 20 years ago. But now that everything is established for me, there was no reason not to stay in Istanbul, which is very crowded.
Yes, and you are teaching in your city now, or you are traveling to teach to a different city, or how does it work?
No, I don't teach regularly. I mean, last year I taught at the conservatory. So over the years, basically, my teaching situation has been like this. In 2000, I returned in 2000 to Turkey, and in 2004 I started a program in a school program with liver harp. That's the first time we got liver harps to Turkey. And then after that, people started buying liver harps. So that's how our community grew, actually. So I made this school program, which the school supported with a couple of instruments, and my students bought harps as well because it was affordable.
Yes.
I mean, think of buying a pedal harp and lever harp. I think for countries like ours, it's really important that people play the lever harp to a professional level also. I think that it's a good way to go. So after that, between 2000 and 2006, I taught at a university in Istanbul. When I got pregnant in 2006, I felt that there was a lot of tension in my workplace, the teaching. There were some restlessness between teachers. And I was already 38 years old, and was my first pregnancy. And I thought, well, I cannot be in this environment. This is such a late pregnancy, I felt like I had maybe spasm when I would go there. And I didn't think twice. I thought this situation is not gonna get good. I will just quit and teach privately because I was also playing a good amount of concerts every year. From 2000 on, I played like major concerts in Turkey, and I was involved in big performing projects which were funded. So I didn't really need that job. I would like it, but if it came with a problem like this, and then I'm a pregnant woman, no, it wasn't worth the risk. So yeah, and I had the best 9 months of my life, or best 7 months, I would say. I quit when I was 2 months pregnant. So then I started teaching privately, and then that year, while I was pregnant, I founded our harp association in Turkey. I had been traveling back and forth to Belgrade, the harp festival.
Yeah.
And I was like on their jury for the competition and some concerts there as well. And I admired how these Serbian harpists were like they, connected. And I asked them, when did you start this association? Well, they said, ex-Yugoslavia, we started 40 years ago. I thought, well, it is incredible that we in Turkey, we didn't have a harp association, So that year, while I was like very pregnant, I founded the association, which is bureaucratically very tough in Turkey. There are many laws regulating things like that. But I thought we should have some kind of a room over our heads, for projects and just to promote the harp. So the same year, the association and our son were born.
Actually, they are twins.
Yeah, they are twins, definitely. Association is a couple of months older. And then it was really then difficult because really I felt, Jana, like I had two babies. I had one real, and then the association was like another baby to take care of. And we had to grow as a community, have volunteers and things like that. And I had no idea how to do these things.
Yeah.
It's another ability. It's one thing to play the harp and totally something else to head a little organization which has its rules, and you need support, you need volunteer work. So how to do that? And I was very, very lucky. I have to say, I had some energy accumulated around. I felt like from concerts, like people who really started loving the harp through me, and I basically was able to get this energy together. And we always had great helping hands. I mean, there were ups and downs. It's been now also 10, how many years? 13 years now. There were difficult times, but this energy was just like amazing. And it all came from performing, as just putting the harp as a solo instrument, because this is the only place you really can show, as we all know, what it's capable of. Yeah, not if you do chamber music. No, you always have a secondary role, always.
Absolutely.
Even though your part is much more tough and you have to work 3 times harder.
You're very right. Yeah, that's very true. We are always like a piano and another instrument. It's always taken like a company instrument when we do the chamber music thing. But yeah, that's fantastic. But at that time already you were the only player who were doing the solos, or how many harpists at that time already 13 years ago? How many was in Turkey?
In Turkey already, when I came back to Turkey, the numbers had grown. It was the generation who had studied with me. They were just taking up positions, or they were already in positions. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I couldn't get the kind of position I would want. The kind of teaching job I had was not exactly what I would want. So it was kind of taken, because while I was in the States, there were some openings and they filled up, and there was no new openings until somebody dies. You know how things are. So, but there was a harpist about my age from Ankara, from the Presidential Symphony Orchestra, Çağatay Akyol, who was doing some concerts, playing concertos and some other kinds of music as well. And just the classes were a little bit more full. Now the classes can have anywhere from 5 to 15 people. In different levels, not at the graduate level, of course, kids as well. But also my colleague, Ceren Necipoğlu, who died in the plane crash. That was like I would like to talk a little bit about that, because that's like a turning point for us here. Things would have been a little different if she were alive, I feel. So Ceren had... when I came back, she met me. She came and played for me a little bit and asked for suggestions, and she was looking to go and study abroad. So I helped her a little bit, and then we got her a scholarship to study with Anne Benjamin at Louisiana State University. And then she stayed there for 1 year, and then she went to Bloomington after me. So when she came, I felt like, oh, great, I have a great colleague now. And she was like a sister as well. So then she got a teaching job in a smaller city between Istanbul and Ankara, where she did a great job. teaching, and we would just take our students to competitions, to festivals, and have exchange events, and it was great. There was somebody I can really relate to,
Right.
and we understood each other really well. And
Yes. Mm.
so when she died in 2009, we were just about to start to collaborate in the association for projects and things like that. She had made up her mind to leave her teaching job and come to Istanbul. And
For those who doesn't know, she was going to the harp festival in Rio de Janeiro, where was the harp festival, and honestly, I was supposed to be at the same flight as she was.
the
And
return flight,
yes.
really.
Mhm. And I changed it because it didn't fit with my schedule in Prague, so I changed it for, I don't know, 3 days before. And then when it has happened, so she was flying from Rio de Janeiro to Paris, and that was the flight which crashed. And
Yeah.
so we lost such an amazing lady. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was
we did.
really very incredible.
Very bright person. I think she's, she really lives. I feel like she lives somewhere in my mind. Also, I always hear her speak, and
Yeah.
but I had a very difficult time after she died, because that year I was also in Brazil for that festival, and when we were preparing, I told her, let's go at the same time, because in Turkey it's not so easy for us to see each other. We're in different cities. I said, well, why don't you let's have the concerts close to each other, so we can travel together and return together. Well, she said, oh, I'm just working on a whole new repertoire, and I have to do at the end of the month. So I went early in the month. That worked better for me. And then she was looking at flights after I came back. She said, do you think I should take this flight? I should take that flight? And I told her, I said, don't take the flight I took, because I had to wait for 5 hours in Paris for my connection to Istanbul. And then she said, oh, there's another flight, just 2 hours. Oh, I said, yeah, take that. That's the flight that crashed. So for a month, I would wake up in the middle of the night and think, I put her on that flight, just by that. I had such a difficult time. But eventually I understood that she made that decision, no matter what I said. One wouldn't want somebody to wait 5 hours in an airport if you can only wait 2. It's a logical thinking. But to come to terms with that was just very hard. Yeah. It was just like devastating, I have to say. Also for the work that we were going to do.
Yeah. How old was she at the time? She was 30, 32, 30.
No, she was in 2009. She was 34.
34.
She was 5 years younger than me. 2009. Yeah. And the last day when we saw each other, this is such a sweet souvenir for me. She was in Istanbul, of course, before taking her flight. So the day before, we had a meeting in Istanbul in my parents' house. I had made some carrot cake and some tea, and we put 2 chairs in front of the window and just looking out and eating and talking about plans, what we would do when she would come back. And then I went out of the city, and then this news came. When I returned, I came to my parents' house, that these 2 chairs, which don't normally sit like that, they were sitting. And it was just so hard. I asked my mom to keep it like that for a while. It was just so tough. I mean, may she rest in peace. And then, a couple of years later, one day I had a concert in Istanbul. And the day before, the evening before, we had the news that her funeral was coming to Turkey, because they did a big search for the bodies. And her sister was frantically looking for a place to have a ceremony, because our formal ceremonies, we have a ceremony in the mosque, but it's very short. But she wanted to have a commemorative event. And I said, well, I have this concert hall which is dedicated to me for that day. We have a rehearsal, but we have the whole concert hall for ours. So that day we had the ceremony there. Like her funeral was there, basically. And then in the evening, I played on the same stage. I played a concert, and it was Teachers' Day. So it was just like,
Everything.
But she inspired a lot of people here. So this year, I think they held an event, a festival in her name in Istanbul, and her family, I think, is involved. So we did a lot of commemorative events. I gathered her students. We made a recording. We put 2 CDs, 1 CD with what we found of her playing from concerts. And then we had talk about doing a CD for her, the exact repertoire, her students, and I was also involved. We all got together and played. This is how we mourned, actually, just by working.
That's
Yeah.
very touching. That's so.
Yeah. It was it was healing, somehow for all of us. And so, is it time for the second piece?
Do we have a picture with her here or not? Because I have not looked through exactly if there is any picture with her, which you sent.
Not the 2 of us together, but on the picture from Dublin, we can see her very clearly. She's next to Miss McDonald. If you can put that picture. Yes, you see she's with the yellow sleeveless to the right of Miss McDonald.
Next to her, right,
Yes.
indeed.
She was there with her students. She had taken, I think, 4 students or 3 students of hers.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Sharon, maybe you have some nice piece now for us.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's change conversation.
Yeah.
We come back.
So as we were talking about Piazzolla, you prepared for us also Piazzolla today. So
yeah, this is I'm quite fond of I said that Latin American music, but Piazzolla, he's poor man. He's only known for a couple of tangos, but he wrote a lot, actually. And so there are some that are very good for the harp, and I've been playing them over the years. So this is one of them. This is called a tango provincial, so the provincial tango, like a village tango or something.
Super. Bravo. So wonderful. And we have also so beautiful from Veronika Lemishenko. Thank you very much for everybody to be with us, to listen to all the wonderful comments you have already written. And of course, Sharon will be able to listen and to read them later on as well. So I'm just wanted to share some of them with you. Sharon, can we just go now also through some of the other pictures you sent me? So you have here, for example, this picture.
Yes. So this is my musical partner actually since 2003, Bora Uymaz, who is a very, very fine singer of Turkish traditional music. He's a multi-instrumentalist as well. He plays some traditional Turkish instruments, and he's a wonderful composer in the traditional Turkish style. So, I was involved in reviving this ancient harp, historical harp, which was totally forgotten, the little cheng, which is a lap harp.
This one?
This one? Yes, this one. So, I would see in old sort of medieval period miniature paintings, which we have from Iran and the Ottoman geography. I would see a little harp there always. In a musical scene, so there are paintings, and I would think, well, this really looks like a harp, but I can't see anything anywhere. How come? Because it was a forgotten instrument. That really, this instrument is like 4,000-year-old actually in its history. It comes from Mesopotamia. And but it's after it disappeared from Mesopotamia, some chengs, it's called the cheng, stayed in our geography, in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran, and in the Turkish part of the world. And it was a very favored instrument, actually, in the medieval period.
But
so
it doesn't have any column, as I can see, right? It has only
It's an angled harp. It's an angular harp. That's how they call it. So because it doesn't have the column, it has a very different tone production, actually. And as you can see, the sound box is on the upper part as well. Yes.
And down
and it's covered. It's covered with the leather. The soundboard is not covered with wood, but with leather. So the sound is very different because the shape is open. It's almost you sometimes get a feeling of a little rubato. It's not as precise as the notes on a harp, for example. It's kind of like it melts into each other. It's more unstable. It's very difficult to tune, of course. You can imagine.
I can imagine, but it has the same color of the harp of the strings as in the normal harp.
Yeah, I did. I arranged that. Yeah, definitely. This instrument had totally disappeared. This was a prototype I did with an instrument maker, working from like theory books, old theory books. There were descriptions and also looking at pictures. So I revived it, and then I started playing. There was a big concerto that was commissioned for me, where I played the pedal harp, and I also played the cheng in the same concerto. It has 5 movements, so I move between. I start with the pedal harp, and then I go to this, and then I come back. So 2 movements on this harp and 3 on the pedal harp.
And how do you tune this harp? Is also in C major or C flat major, or is another tonality moved tune this harp? Because you cannot change it, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had lots of problems with this specific one. I had other ones done after that. But you can tune it the way you want. I also add some levers because I would need. Traditionally, it wouldn't have levers. But
how do you tune it? Because there are no no pins.
There are. Yeah, there are. There are under my left hand.
Okay.
You can see there are like little pegs, like the harp tuning pins, but they're not metal. They're wood, and then because of that we had lots of problems because they would crack. I mean, I would try to turn because it's wood in wood. It didn't really work well. Anyway, so I did a lot of work with this instrument after premiering the concerto. But I tried to put that also with some Turkish instruments and to see if I can play some early music, like maybe 16th century music, which was not so much with modulation, the more simple music. And I started playing with some musicians, and that's what led me to meet my composer and singer friend Bora, because I needed a teacher, and nobody taught me until I met him. He really took me, and then he said, we have to, let's make another cheng, let's make a recording. So we made a recording entirely dedicated to the cheng together with Turkish instruments, and I started learning a lot. Then I started learning a little bit about improvising.
And I
And
think many harpists who play this instrument. I don't know anybody. Is it any other harpists who use this instrument?
well, in Turkey, nobody really. There are a couple of people who were interested. My previous student and now my colleague at the association, Meriç, she can play a little bit as well. It's really difficult because you have to sit on the floor, with your legs crossed, and then the instrument gets stabilized on the ground, and it's just so hard for the back, and you get sort of like numb in your legs after a while. So in the beginning, it took me a long time to learn how to play it.
So when you were saying that you were changing it one concert from the normal harp to this one, you were doing this kind of changing also of your sitting, so that you were sitting on the floor.
Definitely, and because one harp was stationed to the left of the conductor, so the pedal harp, and then the chain was on a podium, so like it had to be a little bit high because I'm sitting on the floor. So you have to get up on the podium and then sit down and play that. And I had to get good at that, I practiced this at home because you can fall, as you sit. You sit in front of. We can sit on our bench. We know how to sit on our bench, take a bow. But how do you kneel down completely? How do you get up? It's like I studied every day for like 3 weeks. Every day I would sit and then just get up, make sure that I look correct, that I don't fall. Or
I would not be able to do it. I would say
it gets me really, sport like fit, So, and I had to have a costume that I could cross my legs, so that with the skirt you couldn't do it. So I had a traditional Turkish shalvar made for that. So then, with the tunique that went over it. So it was a whole production, I have to say. And that year, our son was 1 year old, and as soon as he would sleep, I would just go and learn the concerto, which was really difficult. The one on the pedal harp part was really tough, with very complicated rhythms and things like that. So I learned it like I didn't want to wake him up. I would learn it playing silently. I put some tissue through the strings, That's how I learned it. And, and then by day I would try the Chang thing. But it was great because it got incredible coverage in the press, because it was like, it was like doing archaeological work, kind of musical archaeology.
And have you ever recorded like that it can be heard by those who were not able to be at that concert, or are you planning?
Yes, it's on YouTube. I can put links or send links if you want.
Please do so, and I will certainly post it on the harp channel after.
Yeah, the entire concert in different movements, first movement, second, they're all separately on YouTube. So I'll send it to you.
For everybody.
So that opened the door to Turkish music for me, actually. So that was the beginning of learning process. And the next thing that I did was, and I think there must be a picture with Meriç. There is a picture of me that's my dad. That's that's near where I live this year.
And here is with your mom?
No, this is my teacher from Switzerland, Catherine Eisenhofer.
Yes, of course, yeah,
sure. Yes, I saw her after 30 years for the first time this winter. I went to Geneva and I visited her, and we had some lunch together.
That's wonderful. And here it is with your son?
This is with my son, not the best picture of me.
You look always so great. And here is your son.
That's my son as well. It's when he was young.
Gorgeous. And here is...
that's my sister and dad this winter. The three of us are riding in the metro. And this is our Harp Association. We have a little space in Istanbul that's given to us by the municipality, one of the municipalities.
I was there.
Yeah, I remember. So we have now like monthly events in our association. we have a coffee hour. So there is somebody delivering a talk about a cultural topic, and then we have harp music that goes with that. So now we do it online every month. And this month, next Saturday, will be Anne Young. She will be our guest.
Wow,
So,
that's fantastic.
yeah, it will be. Yeah, I curate it so that whatever the topic is, for example, then the music goes with that.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
so this is also our harp association. Some of our volunteers. I think some of them are watching. So the person in the white is Meriç. Now she's the president of the Harp Association, and she's the only student that I was able to really raise in Turkey. And she's a fantastic musician. There must be another picture with her, I think, somewhere.
Another picture with, yes.
Yeah, this is Notburga Pushkash. That was the Hungarian descent harpist in Switzerland, my big sister. I visited her also this winter after 30 years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That's we went to a basketball game, my husband, and to the right is our son. Everybody looks very, very drained.
Lovely. And here's you as a young one. I mean, younger than now, but like in youth age. Where was it?
This is in Washington, D.C. I think shortly after we finished school. Maybe that year, could be that year. Yes.
It was your harp. I remember actually,
my harp. Yeah.
Yes, you had this, and I remember when you were choosing the harp that you wanted to have the brown one.
Yes, I did.
I like today, it now remind me when I see the picture that I know that you said, I love so much the dark brown harp.
Yes, yeah, you're correct. Yeah, I really had this, which was a wrong thing to do. Never go with the color of a harp. Never. It can be pink, but it can be just amazing. I mean,
amazing indeed.
I mean, unless it's a gold harp, the other harps there's so much variation. Sometimes not so good looking harp can sound great even. So yeah, I wanted my walnut harp, but I wasn't so happy with it. So then I got this one that I'm playing still. This is Meriç, yeah. So with Meriç, then with the Turkish music, so we made a CD called Handcraft together. We took some traditional Turkish songs and we put a lot of harp gestures in them, some elements of new music, also respecting the traditional element also. And we made a wonderful CD together. I say wonderful because we spent a long time thinking about how to approach the material, how not to make something cliche, to make something unique out of these simple songs, which have very nice rhythms actually. So rhythm and also melodies. So we collaborated with some different musicians and played with a traditional percussionist. So as a harp duo. And that gave us an idea about arranging music for the first time, really writing them down. So we have all these duets for harp, which work really well. And after I met Bora, who started composing a lot for the harp, because he was really interested in what we were doing with the instrument. He loved it. He loved it so much. But he composes in a traditional music style, which is that it comes as a single line, Turkish music is like a monostaff. So it's a bit like jazz, there's, and then you have to figure out what to do with that. So you have to figure out, just by sight reading, you have to make a left hand immediately under that. And oftentimes we have to transpose also because of some traditional instruments, like some orchestra instruments, they must transpose. So it's written somewhere, but we must transpose a fourth below, a fifth below. So I learned how to do that, sight reading and transposing at the same time. So all that happened like after I was 40, and I felt like some regeneration is happening in my brain. So learning a lot of new things were not easy. If you're 20, it's one thing, but learning in your 40s, not as easy. But I learned a lot of things just by doing that, and also always coming back to the harp with this material, putting gestures that are very interesting for harp, so that it's not just like any music; it has to sound good on the harp.
Right. And did you published all these transcriptions, or is it possible to get it for the people?
Yes. So we're now with the association running this project, which is called the Turkish Harp, which has a variety of traditional Turkish music in it. So it can be new compositions, but in a traditional style. So they're in a way very melodic to the ear, where we get the melody and we make up the entire gestural composition, also with adding the left hand. So it's like composed by two people almost. The melody comes from one person, comes from Bora, and either Meriç or I make up the harp arrangement for that, the left hand and just arpeggios, glissandos, whatever. You can imagine.
Help the harpist to forget to make the improvisation. You made them.
Yeah, well, the new book I'm working on, which is called The Flavors of Turkish Music for Harpists, it teaches you how to improvise, because to improvise, you have to understand how the melody that you are given works. So you have to kind of respect the motion that's inside. If you want to play an introductory improvisation, you have to get a feeling about how the melody is. Either come from somewhere really far away, but bring it to the melody, or you have to imitate what's in the melodic part of the composition. So, and it's not, I'm not so well doing, how do you say, timed improvisation, but free improvisation, I'm more comfortable doing that. I learned that. So these books in this publishing series, it's called the Turkish Music Collection. It's on Creighton Collection in the UK. So we're, making videos, also putting them on YouTube, and so that people have a way to listen to them. And also it's going to be on harpschool.com. Do you know the French platform, the Harp School?
www.harp.com.
Harp, and then there is a hyphenated harp hyphenation school.com. That's a French platform where there are online lessons, and then there is also PDF music material. Yes, PDF music material to download, and we're going to be uploading lessons there as well. So the project, wishes to really take this richness of Turkish music with modes and rhythms, and to make some kind of new repertoire for harp, which is for all levels, and also for lever harp and also for pedal harp that can be used.
And they can order it on that, or they can download it directly from this page.
It's not there. It's not yet on harpschool.com. We just agreed now, made the agreement. But throughout the summer they can check. But there are some things on Creighton already, which are being revised now, and we have 40 volumes in mind. We have done only like 5 pieces for the time being, but we have 40 books that will come. So it takes a lot of time, and so far I have been relying. I know you're using some software, but I have been relying on handwriting music, and I have to learn how to. What do you use? Sibelius or Finale?
Sibelius.
Yeah. Did you learn by yourself? Yes.
Yeah.
I ask questions.
I always like to figure out by myself. I don't like any help.
Everybody teaching you.
I have to find out by myself that it's easier than for me to understand. But Sibelius is really quite easy to get into it and to find out. It's really easy.
It's really necessary for
and it's easier for harpists also, because if you need to transpose or if you need to make enharmonics, you can just immediately change it so that you don't need to rewrite it, and you can immediately hear it as well. How does it sound? If it's possible, it's really much easier than to change it in the score, which is printed.
Yeah, I'm very ahead with the ideas, plans, and the project, but this part is really sort of hanging in my mind. I have to rely on other people to write, and that's not good. On the long run, it's not going to be
But
good.
you will get very easily to get known how to work. visit. It's very easy.
You found it easy.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure for us, to offer that to the harp world. And actually, the idea came from Creighton. I was at the harp festival in Edinburgh a couple of years ago and played some music. And apparently, all the harpists were asking about, like, can we have the music? They ask if they can buy. So Creighton, Tim, came up to me and said, "Did you ever write this music?" I said, "No." How do you play? I said, "From here." I said, maybe you should write it down for others to play. And then I felt like, it's our responsibility,
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So as soon as you will know that it's there, maybe you can just inform us, and I will just, of course, inform the people at the Harp channel who will be waiting for it. And only just to a little interrupt, we have really nice messages here, so that I would like to share with everybody.
Oh, yes.
It's lovely.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have her as well. Yeah, we have just wonderful people in our Harp Association. This year it became so strong, like a family, and I feel like we can really lead this project to great success with their help.
We're lucky. We are very lucky. And from Marisa Robles, it's so lovely also. So unfortunately, she had never met you personally, but I hope that you will be able to meet each other.
I hope so too. Thank you.
So, and he's also one from my editor of the Harp channel.
So thank you. Lovely to be here. It's so great.
And you have also another piece for us, right?
Okay. Yes. So now I will play something Turkish, which will be in print soon. So I tell you the story behind this. It's very funny. So one day I got a phone call in Istanbul from the manager of the Turkish bath, Hammam.
Yes, of course. I love
like the Roman baths. Yeah. So it's like it's our spas, basically, Turkish spa. So I got a call from this man. He said, "I would like to commission you to do a recording for our bath. We would like to play harp music in the bath." And I said, "Well, we can find some harp music on YouTube, and you can play." No, he said, "No, I want custom made, only for my customers." And so then I went to visit this man, and he said, "I want something with the traditional style, and it has to be, traditional Turkish music, but like relaxing, and people should listen to that after they took a bath and they're just resting." So then I talked to my friend Bora. I said, "We have to come up with this." And he said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "No, I'm not kidding." Actually, I love going to bath, and I always thought the music that they play is not good. They play some kind of music, but it's not suited these historical big places. They're just fantastic marble, with domes, and so we made the CD. And this piece is in this CD, which is called "Return from the Hammam." So you take a bath, and then when you go home, you're just so relaxed. It describes the state of relaxation after you took a bath. So then I'll do a little improvisation before. Actually, it requires a little different tuning. If you don't mind, I can take 1 minute for the tuning. It will be better.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. It's really interesting because I wonder if there is a also for us when we are going to do Hammam, so that we can listen to by ourselves to this music.
Yes, it's actually totally. It's on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah, all my CDs are there, but this is called "Water of Life," and it's on Spotify. It's great.
Wonderful. So before Şirin will finish her, I will just take the opportunity to share all of your messages. I thank you so much for being with us today. So many greetings to everybody, of course, as well. kind of tuning is it? What is the difference between tuning before and now? The, Sharon, what is the difference between the tuning now and before?
Sorry?
How did you have to change the tuning?
Okay. Think that this is D major, okay? But with the third a little bit low.
So like when we don't tune the harp.
Yeah, not the whole harp. I just tune a couple of strings, and this is a different mode. It's called the Rast makam, and then I tune also the fourth below, so that we have this one, perfect fourth, fifth there.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I wish to be in the hammam now. That's so wonderful. It's really very nice. Honestly, even I'm not disturbed by the wrong tuning because it really belongs to the music. It's really nice.
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is how this makam is, because it's a microtonal music, Turkish music. So it has more than just the obviously the half step between two notes. There are different fractions. So this is actually just 15% lower than actual F sharp. So this is D, F sharp. It's only 15 cents lower than where it should be. and then it gives a different flavor.
And we have nice comment also that they like really very much to your playing. So
Oh,
yeah.
thanks.
And here you have the perfect pitch that you know how to tune it so little out of tune, or do you have
Well, your ear gets used to it.
Yeah.
You learn it. Yes. I mean, if I want to be on a recording, I would check.
Yeah.
But I get it pretty much right. But if you don't know how low, if it's not in your ear, you can't. I don't have perfect pitch. No, I don't. But you learn. I mean, we know when a major third is not in tune.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you play enough music that has this interval, then it gets in your memory and you can figure out. So this wealth of language in Turkish music is really nice. So the harpists would really enjoy this publishing series, and also as teaching material because we have some pedagogical pieces as well with really fun rhythms. This was in 7/8, 2/2/3.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, 1 2 1 2 3. So 1 2 1 2 3.
Yes.
1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. It's a lot of fun, for even young players.
Indeed. Indeed. And how many pieces like this has been written for this occasion?
Oh yeah, almost 60. I think we cannot catch up with the composer. He's so fast. Like it comes out of the oven every day. We can't catch up with him really. And also some of the what we play is also traditionally exists, or some early music as well. So it's not all music by one composer. So it's a mix.
It's only by you. It's only solo harp.
Well, actually, you can play this piece with other instruments together. It's possible. They would play. It would have to be a bowed instrument probably, because there is no break to breathe. You can't play that on a. It never stops. It's just even 8 notes all the way through.
Maybe just with the drummers or something, the traditional drummers or something.
Yeah, exactly. One, ta, pam, pam, parita.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun. All these pieces can be played with percussion, and even like other sorts of percussion. It doesn't have to be the traditional. It can be, other instruments. So.
And this, I'm sorry to. Can you play this kind of music on the Şirin harp, or on the traditional harp as well?
If I can share. Yes. No, that instrument is very primitive. The chang is like the music has to be like, think of. You can't even use the fourth finger there. And liver harp also sometimes doesn't require fourth finger. Yes, I play a lot of liver harp also because it suits really well with Turkish music. So the chang is really for 3 fingers, 2 usually. The angle is so different when you split that. You can't really. There's no room to pass the fourth finger underneath. Like to play a scale. You have to kind of stay 2 1 2 1 2 1 like a crab.
I see.
It's more like that. So when I have to switch between these instruments, I get a little confused because it's different technique with you, different height of thumb, different hand position. I get a little confused, but the music for chang has to be very simple, like diatonic.
I see.
Maybe a little arpeggio, and I'll put some links for you if people are interested to watch.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
I have a solo one to watch, so it's nice.
Because we have also here, this is you with your cat.
Yes, our cat. Yeah.
And here it's
with my husband.
Your husband. And please tell me, here are some posters. This is
the cover of our publishing series. So we make really fancy covers. My husband's sister is a graphic designer. She's an artist as well. So this is the toy chest, so little pieces for kids. With really, they're fun. Some of my students played them in competition in Slovenia this year. I mean, in October. So yeah, she comes with the most wonderful ideas. So we try to make happy covers. I think there are some more. Maybe you want to show? There must be.
There is another.
Yeah. So this is lavender panna cotta and buselik longa. So you have some lavender in the background. And this piece, Jana, in the back cover with the new print, we'll have your comment on this piece. It's from the competition. You will remember USA competition. It says on it, I think 2015, we were judging the composition contest.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
And I had asked you some comments if we can use in the back of the book. So so now this is the revised cover, and this piece was a finalist. It was one of the 5 pieces in the finals, and so it will come with your comments in the back.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I would love to see it afterwards as well. I mean,
yes, I will send it to you once it's printed.
Thank you so much. And I have here also. Wait a minute. Of course, I already showed that Jean-Pierre.
Pierre Jamet. Yeah.
Pierre Jamet.
Yeah. This was from the summer course in 1986 in Gargiles.
Yeah.
I have a picture with him as well, but I couldn't find it. Oh, this is my gold harp. Yeah. Okay. This is. I was so happy to do that. I could lift it also just like this, you know. It was just like a little bag from the grocery shop. Once they remove the mechanism and strings and pedals and everything, then it's like a couple of kilograms. So this was in the factory in Line in Hilly, and I had this harp redone partly. We put a new neck back then. I still have this harp. I love it.
That's beautiful, and it's really funny to make
it's a funny picture, isn't it?
And I have also some memories when I was in Turkey, but I found.
Oh yes. Oh, fantastic! Yeah, Meriç is there in the Harp Association.
Yes.
Me and our help, Brigitte. Yeah.
And there is the harp behind the Cheng.
The Cheng is behind, yeah, on the left. Yes.
And here is also after
concert.
This is your logo of your association, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, means the harp association. Yes.
And here's also with all the other people from Turkey.
Other harpists. Yes, fantastic. They came for your masterclass.
This is so really nice. And here's you as it was in Bloomington. I can see the mark behind.
Yes, it's the mark. Yeah. Yeah. So keen. Yeah, that's a great day of graduation.
So you did the 4 years of master only.
Yeah, it's only a crazy thing. Yeah, only master. Yeah, I didn't go further because I thought to do further, you have to consecrate maybe 4 years, not playing too much. Right. You have to study so hard, and I thought I shouldn't do that. I should just go out and play. But maybe I should have pursued a doctoral degree. I don't know. I think it's easier to, in our countries right now, unless you have a doctoral degree, they don't really let you teach much in institutions, which is a sad thing for music because it has nothing to do with that.
I see.
Instrumental teaching, you know, whether you have a doctoral degree or not doesn't change how we can teach.
And Sharon, what is now your plan for the upcoming months? I don't know. As soon, of course, everything will be reopened.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerts or any recording coming in?
So I did during this period where we were in quarantine. Actually, on April 23rd. The president's office put on a concert, which was filmed in different locations of Istanbul. So different small ensembles, 1 or 2 persons played. So I traveled during the quarantine on a day where there was a total curfew in the country. I took a driver came and I went with my harp to Istanbul, which is a 6-hour drive from here. And it was a very interesting thing to do with my singer friend. We recorded one piece there, which was aired nationally, and it hit a record for TV. How do you say ratings? They call ratings, I think, of all time. I think over 50 million people watched it because everybody was at home and it was on all national channels and private channels, and they watched it. So it was really, I was really happy. I was so afraid, just to go. And people come and they do your hair, they put makeup, and you have to have a mask, and it was just so crazy. I didn't know if I got sick or not until 2 weeks later. So I did that, and then I did a full concert. Actually, all this happened. I did the concert without audience, a full recital, which was simultaneously broadcast in the very early days of the quarantine. That was in Izmir. And then I did another televised thing. So actually, I've been playing throughout this period, but I don't know how things are going to be for music for a long time to come. From at least some time, I don't know. I think that in certain countries in Europe, they're handling the concert situation better than others. But my plans are pursuing the publishing project, of course, and keep teaching online. I have some concerts next year in Istanbul. We'll see if they happen. I have about 4 recitals and also one with flute lined up. And then I was just recently, actually, as of today, I was put in charge by the Ministry of Education in Turkey to revise the music education in public schools in Turkey. So, which is a huge task. It involves like 12 million children.
Wow.
Yeah, and we are going to reform the music, general music education in schools with a colleague of mine. Which is not something I'm a specialist of, but we don't have music educators at the high level in Turkey, so I kind of have to expand, my knowledge of instrumental teaching maybe a little bit and do something for all kids. So I'm very honored that I was given this job. It's a huge task. I hope I can, measure up to their expectations.
Who else could be? No better. I know how really clever girl you are, and it's absolutely fantastic that you can do it. It's wonderful. But big responsibility as well for the future and for the.
It is, yeah, it is. I felt like there was. I was a little bit vocal about that too. I kind of worried about that because I look at music classes in schools. They have only 1 hour and it's really poorly done. We have to start from scratch and give better things to the kids so they become better listeners and better consumers of music also. Not just old people for classical music, but people of all ages. Unless you teach them when they're very young, it's not possible.
Absolutely.
I think. So anyway, so that's a new thing. I'm starting on Monday from home.
So good luck for that.
Yeah, thank you. Brain work.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's great that now it's somehow time for that to do. So that you can.
Yes, it is. It is, and it's an online program that we are designing. It will be flexible. Parts of it can be done in real classroom situation, but it's an online music education program, which is just quite challenging for me. We'll see.
Super great.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
And
Thank you.
also, Şirin, just only tell me and to ask what kind of music when you play really the harp, like classical harp, do you like better to improvise to play your traditional music, or do you always like also to come back to some harp repertoire which you played?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love harp repertoire. I have to play every year a number of recitals. That's the only thing that really keeps me active, really. Definitely. I really love, every couple of years I have changed sonatas, but like I like this year I play Hindemith Sonata in a recital, for example. I have not played it in some years, and I do Tournier Sonatine, for example. I just go back and Bach suites, different suites, and Scarlatti sonatas, and I can't live without those things. And which one I love most, I don't know, but I think I like all. But I think that the good mainstream harp repertoire really explores the harp fully, and that's where I get ideas to do the new things. I don't take traditional music as it is. I have to have a really big harp presence, a significant harp presence in them. The harp must sound like the harp. I remember Miss McDonald, she had said something very early in my lessons. She said, before we hear how you play, she said, we hear the sound. So before there is rhythm, there is sound, she said, because there is one note first. And that means like the sound of the harp, basically. So that the presence of the identity of the instrument is really what matters most. And I don't play music that I don't think that it's at the top level from a compositional point of view. Or it has to be just like, some amazing, finger work that I can handle. I try to play things that suit my hands also, and my understanding.
And it makes you pleasure, certainly, that it really helps to feel you really nice when you play it also, because it's
definitely
always very important that we feel comfortable with what we do, and that we are not forced for doing something what we don't like to do.
Exactly.
And
We shouldn't push ourselves. If there is a harp piece that's not that great, well, maybe I can come up with another one that's better. And so there is the new music for harp. I find it a little bit problematic. There are good pieces, of course, but when I look at the new music that comes up in competitions and things like that, sometimes it's really not very good. Level is not that high, actually. So we need to push people to write better for harp, more significant pieces and more heartfelt, and also I think there is a need for melody. If you have the harp, why not exclude melodic material? It's an instrument that sings so well.
Absolutely. And the pieces should be the one which will last, because of course if there is some melody and the people can recognize that there is some theme which they can, at least maybe if they listen it twice or three times, they can remember it. It's more possible that the piece will last than the pieces where you have no idea if you play correct notes by yourself.
Exactly. That's so much work, and then the reward is very little. I mean, for the history of music and for the harpist and for the listener as well. So it should not be painful.
Absolutely.
It should be something we should be, as harpists, I feel like we should be very selective. When you go into harp classics, they're all wonderful compositions.
Yes.
The ones that lasted, they're great from a composition point of view.
That's very true. But all your music which you have transcribed, and you are just now making some kind of arrangements, you will have everything in print, surely. Yes. So that I would be very happy if you will inform all of us about your links where we can see everything and show everything to the public. I will be very thankful if we can get it. So, and I will be very happy to share it with everybody. And Sharon, I would like to ask you, what is your wish? That's my
wish. Yeah, my wish is like health for everyone, really, right now. I mean, I don't wish much for myself. I'm just thankful that I'm, healthy right here, right now. But some kind of health for the planet as well, so that these illnesses don't, get us. It's just so sad. I mean, I have not been able to see my parents, for example, since early March, because of the curfew. We couldn't travel from a city to another one. And my father is 85 years old, and it just, it's, I want to be there with them. I want to be close to them, but we can't really be. If we are really responsible people, we should not be that close to them. With what does that mean? I mean, it's our home. So safety and really health for myself. Just being useful, like, really makes me happy. Just investing in the instrument, the love I have for music, and seeing also people pick up. Like students who, former students who come and then then they take over. They go beyond you.
Yes.
That's the best student, the one that goes, a couple of steps further than you, or who is a good partner. I really care for the harp, actually. I'm happy that a lot of people now know what the harp is in Turkey, because 20 years ago they didn't. Everybody was like, what is that? But now sometimes I go to an airport, I'm in some place, or I was in a dentist, somebody just recognized me there. I don't care about being recognized myself, but they knew me because of the harp. So they know the harp.
That's fantastic, and I'm really very thankful also to you for the whole harp community and for the whole harp world, that you made such an amazing progress of your instrument, of our instrument, for being it like so famous now in your country as well. Because as I said at the very beginning of our interview, I have never met any harpist from Turkey before I met you, and I thought that the only one from in the whole history of the harp, and now how really large community you have already.
Yeah, there are very good harpists coming up in the young generation. They inspire each other, and we inspire each other. So
it's a lot of work, of course, and I thank you really very much. And big admiration, and really it's our honor that you could have had time for us today, that you can really share your experiences, your knowledge, and your
pleasure. Thank you for having this. So just such a intelligent idea you had. Really, I mean, we needed that. Really, it's just so wonderful. The other day I was cooking, but I put you on. I had to cook, but I was listening. Why should I listen to the radio where I can listen to harpists talk about their experiences? They can be, I don't know, in Japan, in Mexico. It's just, and we can do that from the comfort of our homes, without, spending, traveling, putting things at risk. And
I'm so thankful that you could have been part of really this wonderful.
I thank you. I thank you.
I thank you so much. And I have one more comment here, and just that, yeah,
they're true. It's true. Yeah, they competed. They go to the competitions as well. Yeah, that's very good.
And it's really wonderful, and it's everything thanks to you. So Şirin, I wish you really all my best from my whole heart, and I really wish that we can meet once soon in a reality
in real life.
And I'm really so glad that we could have met, and thank you for wonderful playing and for wonderful talk and wonderful pictures and all your stories, and I wish you good luck for all your projects, and I'm
thank you very much
to get all the
information. I will send you information, and then best continuation with the programming and our channel. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, and I send many greetings to everybody who was with us. Thank you so much to everyone, and I wish you a wonderful weekend, and we will see again on Tuesday, but I will of course announce again before Tuesday who we have as a guest, and you can see it already in the events. But today I thank you very much to our wonderful star of the harp, Şirin Pancaroğlu. Is it correct?
We're there. Yeah, you got it.
Sorry,
you got it.
Pancaroğlu. And remember her name and search for her on the YouTube. She will also share with me some links, and I will share it with you. But you can find a lot of videos of her, and also there will be a lot of music she will publish. So look for it and wait for it. And I'm looking forward to hear from Şirin again. Take care, my big kids.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.